everyone, Sarah here. Welcome back to my channel, Never Out of Books. Today, I am back from the gym. I am all pumped up and strong right now. And before I finish the purge that I'm doing of my house, I figured I should talk about some books because it's been a while. So I got my cup of tea and I got a stack of books here to talk about with you. These were the books I read in May for Chicklitathon. If you like TBR videos, I did have a TBR for this month-long readathon. I did not fulfill everything I wanted to read during the month, and I did not meet all of the challenges, but I read a metric ton of woman-centered books. So it took me a while to figure out what a domestic thriller is. Technically, I didn't read one because I didn't know what one was. So, I did read It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, which is about abuse. And the problem is that it wasn't the sort of story that I enjoy. I was hoping that the writing would be okay and that I would like it, but I didn't. It was a very uncomfortable read about abuse. I understand its value, especially, you know, as a book, but I didn't like the writing and the story was uncomfortable. So, yeah, and Colleen Hoover and I don't really get along. So, yeah, start this on a bummer, right? Yeah, I get it. To read a Sophie Kinsella book, I read I Owe You One, which is the latest release by her. And this follows Fixie, who is a fixer for, like, everybody. She wants to fix everybody's problems, and she was actually really annoying, to be honest, but, like, in a good way. I really enjoyed reading about her. And she meets a guy and she saves his computer that he needs, and they keep writing this IOU back and forth to each other as they help each other through the book, and then there's the complications from that and all of that, and it was a delightful chick lit. You know, it's rare that I love everything by an author. You know, she's had some that I didn't really enjoy very much, but this was one that I really enjoyed, and I gave it 4 stars. For Read a Book with a Pair of Heels on the cover, I actually read 2 books. One is The Cozy Tea Shop in the Castle, heels on the cover, and I love these UK covers for their books. I don't know why, but like I actually want to keep this one just because it's pretty. But this is about Ellie, who leaves the city and following her dream to live at this castle and open up a tea shop. Actually, she takes over a tea shop that was already there, but the people retired, and all her ideas and plans, and she's always wanted to bake. And of course, when she gets there, there's, you know, the man and all of that loveliness that goes on, and it is definitely like what I think of as a chick lit, and I adored this thoroughly. Of course, being that it has a tea shop in it, you know, I'm inclined to like it. On audiobook, I listened to The Kiss Quotient, finally, by Helen Huang. Oh my goodness, this book. Okay. For one thing, for some reason, I was like, oh, it's from Book of the Month. It's not like a real, you know, there's not going to be actual sexy times in here. I've never listened to an audiobook with sexy time in it before, and I must have been 10 shades of red driving down the road because there are explicit sexy times in this book. I've never had that read to me before. So just warning, this is actually you know, a romance novel. So the fun part about this was that the female character is on the autism spectrum, very high functioning, and he doesn't know. She tries to keep it secret from this guy she hired to, you know, teach her how to be a normal person in love and stuff. Just, there's a lot of rap, people like that. It was good. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I mean, here I am stumbling over my words. There are many people who have reviewed this book very well, better than I ever could. I really enjoyed it. I believe I gave it 4 stars. I am looking forward to the next book, which I have in my book haul, but I haven't done yet, so spoiler. And the audiobook really was excellently read as well. It was just shocking to have, you know, all of that in there. For a historical, I read 7 Days in May by Kim Izzo. Okay, this was a shocking love for me. I am so sad I let this book sit on the shelf. I enjoyed this book so much. This centers around two sisters who are sailing on the Lusitania from New York to UK. The older sister is marrying an aristocrat, and the younger sister, who really is more of the central character of the book, is a suffragette and just is not happy about this, but is kind of trying to behave herself, like a little bit for her sister's sake, but not really. And it is a love story, shipboard, and then of course you know what happens to Lusitania. So, you know, who survives, who doesn't survive. Like, the writing was spectacular, and now I want more World War I historical fiction in my life. Like, I'm not really big on World War II historical fiction, but I kind of forgot about this era, the World War I, and I want more. So if you have any recommendations of really good World War I historical whatever, I would love to hear it, because this hit all of the spots for me. I do recommend this. It was definitely a little lighter than some historical books. Maybe that's why I liked it so much, but so good. And the book itself is beautiful. For a heartfelt woman's fiction book, I read Digging In by Loretta Nyhan. And this was another one. I'm like, why did I let it sit there for a year? You know, it was really enjoyable. This is about Paige, whose husband had died. She's got an almost graduating teenager. You know, they've been kind of going through the motions for a couple of years. She has a decent job where she's well respected, and then her boss dies, and his son takes over and wants to do all these changes, and he's modeling this company off of this book that he read. She's worried she's going to be one of the ones that's going to lose her job over this, because she's old and doesn't have new ideas and isn't really taking this seriously. And so she has her, what I would call her crisis, and she starts digging in her backyard, and she's like, I just gets in there and digging and planting a garden and healing finally. But everyone thinks she's crazy. So that's what this book is kind of about. And it was well written. And I kind of like some of these where you're struggling to find yourself sorts of books as an adult, and like the healing power of being outside, like that's one of my things. So she makes new friends, she explores things, and I really like these kind of books. And so it really was one of just like, you know, ticked all the spots for me, and I gave it 4 stars. I did not read a book set in LA or Hollywood. I did not get to Dating You, Hating You, but I did read a metric ton of other books, and I will go into those now. I read the first 2 books in a Seaside Cafe mystery, which are Live and Let Chai and No Good Tea Goes Unpunished by Bree Baker. These are set in a small town in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and they are centered on Everly, who has come back home to this town and has bought this house she always wanted to buy, and has made an iced tea shop on the bottom as a business, and she's trying to grow her business. In both of them, someone dies, and she's a suspect, of course, in the first book, because that's how they usually start out. And there's a cute cop that she has some witty banter with and enjoyable times, and she's got the aunts who live in town who are just crazy characters. So as far as cozy mystery goes, this has all the little things that would tick all of the little boxes, And of course it has tea for me, so I'm happy, and I will continue to buy these books in this series as long as they come out for. I read a young adult book called Ditched, a Love Story by Robin Mellum. This I didn't really love. I liked the format of it in that it starts basically at the end. She's after prom, she is pushed out of the car or something. She just has some memory lapses. She gets pushed out and she's stumbling along, and they tell the story. She tells the story to the owner of this gas station where she ends up walking to, and she tells her story via the stains and things that are going on her dress. Say like the rubbery chicken marsala. So she knows what's going on, but you're finding out the story as it goes along. So it was an interesting concept. I wouldn't say that it was for me, though, to be perfectly honest. I was definitely too old to appreciate this book, I think. Maybe a younger person would enjoy it, but this was definitely a young adult book that was for young adults. Then I read And We're Off by Dana Schwartz. This is also a young adult book. This has travel. So this follows a 17-year-old girl named Nora, and her grandfather, who is a famous artist, has sent her for the summer on this all-expense-paid trip to Europe and around different places, and she has to create artwork while she's there. And she is looking forward to getting out because her and her mother do not get along. Her mother is more like, you need to be a doctor, and she wants to be an artist when she grows up, so they have a lot of conflict going on there. And then her mother decides to join her on the trip. So this is kind of a mother-daughter getting to know each other sort of novel with the traveling around. And I loved this. Actually, I gave it 4 stars. I appreciated this a lot, having a teenage daughter myself, where your ideas don't align, and not everyone knows everything about each other and what each other is thinking and how things ended up at the end. And not that I would say go out and buy this book. It's like, but if this is like mother-daughter relationships or something that you're interested in the young adult setting, I think this was actually a good book to have for young adults. Like, it would be a good read for them. So I gave this 4 stars. I appreciated it a lot. From NetGalley, I got A Summer to Remember by Sue Moorcroft. This I read at the beginning of last month. And another one that I really, really, truly enjoyed. It was really great. This came out on May 2nd. And in this one, Clancy loses her job at a company that she helped found and answers an ad to go and be a caretaker at these roundhouses for the summer to kind of reset herself. There's no Wi-Fi. It's like off the grid. And no one thinks she's going to be able to deal with it because she's a city girl. And of course she meets, one of the co-owners, the guy, and there's stories and there's all kinds of stuff going on. And this is a true chicklit as far as I'm concerned, like totally chicklit. And it is, and I forgot to add, the roundhouses are really owned by her cousin. She's been bailing her cousin out a lot because her cousin is kind of like an entitled jerk, I guess you could say. So, there's all kinds of family drama and things going on in this book. Totally a fun read. Loved it. I read Claim Me Cowboy by Maisie Yates because I needed an author that started with a Y. And I've got a few more of those, I think, coming up as well. So, for one of my reading challenges, this is the Copper Ridge series, number 4 in the series. I have not read the whole series, but this one sounded good because it has the fake fiance trope, which I enjoy. And as a result, I actually really enjoyed this book. So it is not a hardship to pick up another one from Maisie Yates because I enjoyed this one so much. I couldn't help myself, and I read It's Getting Scott in Here by Suzanne Enoch, because how in the world could you even not read that with that punny title? So this is a historical romance, obviously, and Amelia Rose is a London socialite. She's also very smart. Her parents want her to marry a title because they came from a not titled family, so they want her to marry up. And Niall has been estranged, and his brothers, because obviously there's going to be more in this story. This is the first in the series. He has to marry, or his mother, who is in London and had separated from his father, is going to not support their castle anymore because she has all the money. So he's like really resentful and never wants to get married, and these two meet, and the rest of his history, I guess. This one I only gave 3 stars, so it was good but not great. If I stumble across some of the other ones in the series as they get written, I'll probably read them. For a reading challenge, I needed a book or something that started with X, so I read Xingu. It's a short story by Edith Wharton. And boy, was it funny. Oh my goodness, it's a short story, and I highly recommend it that you read it if you have a chance. I mean, I only gave it 3 stars, but the more I reflect on it, the more funny it is. It's about these ladies that get together and pursue culture. They're all so cultured. And they have this really not intelligent person in their circle that they think is not intelligent. And so they are hosting for the first time this grande dame of literature, and they have her come in, and they're trying to talk all smart, and this girl is like, well, have you, and it's like flopping on them like crazy. And so the not smart girl is like, have you heard of Xingu? Because you da-da-da, and it just keeps going from there. Of course, Xingu being something that she totally made up. So, and it just keeps going and going, and it's a riot. It's an absolute riot. So if you need an X book, there you go. It's only like 30 or 40 pages, and it was just completely frivolous is what it was, which is fine with me. It was great. I read a middle grade spy school, British Invasion. This is the 7th book in the series. I love this series. It's about a boy spy. So this is totally, we're not in Chicklit Town anymore, okay? It's a boy. He's at the spy school that his parents don't even know is a spy school. And it's a continuation from the previous book. So the themes carry over and the plot carries over a bit. I don't even want to get into it. These books are hilarious. I forgot about something. I did read the Big Kahuna, which is a Fox and O'Hare novel by Janet Ivanovich. This is about, and this is the 6th book in a series, but it follows an FBI agent who is the woman and a con man who is the man, and he is being used by the FBI. He does not want to go to prison. He was caught, but he's being used by the FBI to kind of get into criminals' minds so that they can catch more criminal con people. And it's got, if you've read Janet Ivanovich before, you know how her books kind of go. They are very humorous, not realistic at all, but a lot of good fun. And that's kind of where this is. So if that's your thing and you like her, then this series could be fun for you to read as well. To nonfiction, I read on audio The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. The audiobook was excellent, and actually the whole book itself was very excellent and had a lot of things for you to think about when it comes to genetics and especially the ownership of our cells. If that's something that sounds interesting to you, it is told, it's basically her trying to find this family and get the story of the person behind the HeLa cells, which are cells that are grown everywhere and all over the world. These cells just keep multiplying, and it's how they do cancer research. So, very interesting book. Brings a lot of questions to the fore. Like, I have lots of questions. I don't know if I have lots of answers after this book, but I definitely have lots more questions and lots more things to think about. And I also read Ungovernable. That's by Therese O'Neill. This is the Victorian Parent's Guide to Raising Flawless Children. This is another book in this Victorian series. She wrote another book about female Victorian life that was very tongue-in-cheek and fun, and this one was as well. All the things that people did to their kids back in Victorian times. If you liked her first book, you might like this one as well. If it wasn't your thing, then it might not be your thing, but I liked it. And that is May. I did pretty well in May. I'm happy. Lots of reading done. I didn't get one of my chick-lit prompts, but I certainly read a lot of female-centric book this past May, and I am looking forward to participating again next year if they have it. So this is long enough as it is, and I will talk to you later. Bye.